That's why you just have to keep your own tempo, you know, don't walk to the music. What's up, model babes? Welcome back to my channel, and thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you're new here, my name is Key, and I help you new and aspiring models learn how to get started in this industry and make money from it. So if you're interested in that, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos. At the time of me recording this, it is Fashion Week. Fashion Week is going on in New York and will be followed with the other fashion weeks in Paris, Milan, London, and such forth. So I thought this would be a great time for all the aspiring models out there who are looking into doing Fashion Week to learn not only how to walk down the runway, but also how to pose on the runway, because the posing is definitely important. So I have a previous video that I did about how to walk the runway. If you're a new model who's never been down a runway before, never walked down for Fashion Week or anything like that, then you should definitely check out that video, because I highlight some strong tips on how to build up a strong walk. So I'll make sure to put that over here for you guys to check out. If you've never walked the runway before, I'll just give you a little overview of what to expect. So once you come out onto the runway, obviously you're going to be down the center of the aisle while there's going to be rows of people on either side of you. And at the end of the runway, there's going to be a bunch of photographers there to take your picture. They'll be taking your picture while you're walking, and then when you reach the end and you strike your pose, they'll also be taking a picture. And that picture is usually the picture you'll see across the internet. That is the picture that they'll be showing for the brands, you know, when they give the pictures back to the brands and to the models. That final picture at the end of the walkway is the important picture that you want to make sure that you are posing correctly for and have, you know, nice poses. So it is super important to practice your posing beforehand, before you are just put out onto that catwalk. You want to make sure that you have some strong poses that you can go to that you know will look nice and natural and complement the brand that you are representing. So before we get into the posing tips, I wanted to go over a few different types of runways that you can potentially be walking for. All runways are not the same, and there are different styles of walking for each type of runway. So I wanted to go over a few different ones for you just so you can know the difference. So the first runway that I want to share with you guys is the one that we are all used to. It's really that high fashion editorial runway. You'll see this a lot in New York Fashion Week with the big brands and the big designers showcasing their high fashion couture looks. And usually when you're walking down that runway, it's very fast paced, it's very simple, you know, you don't move around too much. It's very fast paced, very expressionless, and it's really quick, and it's showing you a quick glimpse of what you can get inside the world of couture. So that is the most common walk that you will see represented in the media and during Fashion Week and things of that nature, but it's not the only one. So moving into our next walk, which is the complete opposite of that high fashion couture runway, and it's going to be the swim runway. So think of Miami Swim Week. A lot of times on that runway you will see girls more bouncy, more bubbly, smiling and having a good time. Swim and lingerie like Victoria's Secret fall into that same category. It's more, you know, lifestyle, more happy, more, you know, feeling good, and definitely a different feel from the high fashion couture vibe. So on that side you have more, you know, strict, more edgy, more rugged, more intense and more fierce, while on the other hand you have just more lifestyle, happy, bubbly, you know, just trying to look good, look cute, look sexy while you're walking. Moving on to our next runway, which is going to be streetwear, which has more of an urban feel. This type of walk is going to be more attitude based. You can put a little bit more personality into your walk when you're on this runway, and they give you more of a laid back but still fierce type of vibe. So you're really going to be seeing a lot of models giving a lot of energy during this type of runway and really taking their time and being a little bit extra with their movements to really showcase the attitude of the brand. And lastly, we have the bridal runway shows. So bridal is completely different than any of the other fashion shows out there. When you're walking for bridal, you really want to take your time, take it slow, because usually you have on these long ball gowns or tight dresses that have trains. You want to make sure that you don't fall. And so it's usually a lot slower. You take your time, and once you get to the end, you do a big grand sweep of the ball gown or the dress that has the train. You sweep it around yourself. Kind of think mid-century Elizabethan era, you know, when they had those big dresses. Bridal wear is going to be similar to that. So it's really slow, it's really elegant, really classy, you know, and definitely a lot more smiles, a lot more playful smirks when you are down walking on this runway. And those are just a few different examples of the different types of runways that are out there, so you guys get a better idea of how you should be walking when you show up at Fashion Week, depending on which designer you have. Okay, so now I want to get into the posing tips and actually what you should be doing when you're on the runway. So the first posing tip that I have for you is to start strong. You want to have a strong beginning. First, let me say that every runway is going to be different. Each designer is going to have a different setup for their runway, but these are just some key tips that you want to keep in mind when you're on the runway. So sometimes they will want you to just immediately walk out and not stop at the beginning, but then there are a few runways that will have you stop at the beginning first before starting your walk. So if that is the case, when you do come out and make that first pose at the end of the runway, you want to make sure that it is a strong pose. And usually I like to go to the hips, right? I like to do a strong superwoman pose to let people know that I'm here, their eyes should be paying attention to me, and that I'm about to rock their world while I slay this runway. So first I start strong with a superwoman pose, and then I begin my walk. So you want to make sure it doesn't have to be your hands up, but you want to make sure that you stand strong and look really fierce when you are beginning at the runway and do that first pose. So after you have your first strong pose, the next pose that may be included in your catwalk is going to be the halfway point. Usually some designers will have the models stop in the middle between the front and the end of the runway. The models will either turn to the side while the viewers are looking at them, you know, make sure each side sees them, sees what they're wearing before they continue down the runway. So if that is included in your catwalk, you want to make sure that you give a nice casual pose. I usually just put one hand on the hip, and I will, you know, sway my hips back and forth to show off the clothes that I'm wearing, and then I will spin to the other side, put my other hand on my hip, and showcase the clothing to the audience. So you can do many different variations here, and again, it depends on how the designer wants things, how the show manager is putting together the show, if they have specific stops that they want you to do. But usually during that halfway point, it's just a quick turn to show the clothes off to the rest of the audience. So you can definitely do little spins here, you can definitely do little turns. I've seen that also, but just make sure whatever your movement is that it's very minimal. You don't want to be doing too much and take away from the clothing. Okay, so the whole point of any catwalk is to just showcase the clothing better. So you want to make sure that you are, you know, not moving around too much, not, you know, moving your arms too much. You just want to make sure that you're complimenting the outfits that you're wearing and letting the viewers see each piece and detail. Okay, my next tip for when walking the runway is when you get to the end. So when you get to the end, you want to make sure that you take your time, and that is a big key that I can't say enough. You really have to take your time, because when you're on that runway, it's going to go super fast. It's going to feel like it's just moving, you know, and you want to make sure that you're keeping a nice pace. You're going to be tempted to go faster and faster, especially depending on the music. That's why you just have to keep your own tempo. You know, don't walk to the music. That's a bonus tip. Don't walk to the music. You want to keep your own 1-2 pace in your head and be consistent with those steps. But when you get to the end, you want to make sure you take your time when you're posing, okay? Let the camera see your outfits. You know, they're there to capture your outfit and capture you, and you want to make sure they have enough time to get a good shot of you. Otherwise, you'll be in like mid-turn, mid-spin when they take that shot, and then that's going to be the image that they use to post on social media and on the fashion blogs and all this other things. So you want to make sure that you take it slow, you know, take your time, let them see you, let everyone see you, you know, count a few seconds in your head. Really, you can count like a really slow 3 Mississippis, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, you know, in your head, and just take your time, let them see you. Do another super strong pose at the end. That's what I usually like to do. I go back to my Superwoman, and then I'll drop the hand to one side, switch to the other side, or if I am just having my hands down, I'll just sway my hips to the side so they can just get a few different angles of the outfit and of my face. But yeah, just make sure to take your time, let them get a good picture before you turn around and walk back. And lastly, the final tip that I have for when posing on the runway is you want to make sure that you're showing off the product, right? The product is the main reason why we are all here in the first place, you know, doing this fashion show. People want to see what they are going to potentially buying and potentially wearing, you know? So you want to make sure that whatever designer that you are wearing, you highlight their products in your posing too. So if it's a bag, make sure you turn halfway so people can see the bag. Make sure if it's earrings, if it's jewelry, make sure you turn your head and your neck so that the jewelry is shown, because that's the whole point, right? People want to see the products, and it's really important, especially at the end of the runway, that you do those things so it can be highlighted in the pictures. So yeah, that is my last and biggest tip for you, is to keep the products in mind when you are walking down the runway. You want to make sure that they're highlighted, make sure that they get their important shine during this fashion show. It's not about you as a model, it's really about the designer's clothes, and you want to make sure you're doing a good job at highlighting them. So now I want to know, have you walked in your first runway show yet? Or are you about to walk in Fashion Week? Or is there a specific fashion week you wish you could walk in? Please let me know by leaving a comment below. And that is all the tips I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure that you give it a thumbs up if you found the information in this video valuable, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any more videos in the future. I will see you guys in my next one.